Welcome, House Hunters, and thank you for joining me on another episode of House Hunter LA. Pretend you're hearing fancy intro music and cool graphics. I'm your house hunter, Mila Goldenberg, and I'm coming at you live today from my kitchen in Highland Park, which is a neighborhood just northeast of Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles. Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to kick off a new Homebuyer 101 series with a conversation about things you should look for when purchasing a home. So I like to call it 3Ls of home buying. Oops. 3Ls. I know you're impressed by these fancy graphics. So can we guess what the first L is? Although I think that I already tipped my hand there. But so the first L is the biggest cliche ever. It is location, location, location. It is so nice. They said it thrice. It is the tried and true of real estate, guaranteed to increase your resale value down the line. It's as important now as it ever was. So what makes for a good location? So if you are buying a condo, obviously you want to be in the penthouse. If you can afford it, get in there, because that's why they were created. You don't want to be on the second floor if you can avoid it. If you are on the second floor, don't despair. I mean, keep trying to move up. I know a lot of people have done that in kind of high-rise condos. They start at the bottom, keep trading up until they get to the penthouse or as close as they can. It makes a big difference for resale. It makes a big difference if there's a view or not a view, as well as if you have a balcony that's on street level, you get a lot of traffic or what have you. So, that's important, being up high in a building. If you're looking at a single family house, obviously you want to avoid busy streets. That's probably the biggest obvious thing with single family homes, especially if you have kids playing in the yard and their cars speeding by, obviously it creates some issues. So you want to avoid, besides a busy street, being too close to a freeway, being close to a cemetery. Even though you have nice, quiet neighbors, most people are kind of weird about it. You want to try to avoid industrial zones, airports, prisons, being in a flight path of an airport. Basically avoiding anything that invites any desirable element of traffic or pollution or noise or weird people or, anything that's going to impact your own quality of life at that home is going to impact, the future owner's quality of life there. And they're going to know it, and they're going to make a big determination based on where the house is located. So location, as important now as it ever was. So the second L, light. Let there be light. So light is important because why? I mean, think about your own experience going into a room where everything's nice and bright. It's like you get a burst of energy, right? It is a space that people want to be in. So light is always gonna be working on a psychological level. Sometimes we're not even aware of it. It's not always so black and white as like, a dark, dingy home versus, a corner home with tons of windows. But if you are in a space that has a lot of windows, a lot of natural lights, that's why most home showings are done during the day. So those, effects can take place. You're gonna want to be in a home that's brighter and lighter. It makes the space feel bigger. It makes people feel better. It makes your quality of life that much better being in a bright space. So light is important. If you're a seller and your house is kind of on the dark side, consider adding windows or consider fidgeting with lighting as much as possible to at least kind of, enhance the natural light. And light is also based a lot on the location of the house in terms of where it's at on a housing tract, how the sun hits it. Corner houses obviously get the most light with the biggest windows. So that's an important element, that kind of ties in location and light together. So that is the second L of home buying. Now the third L, which I think is probably the easiest to control, but also hardest in many respects, is layout. Okay, so what makes for a good layout? Well, nowadays the whole concept of open concept is something that most people are looking for. So you are looking for basically big spaces that aren't really defined, or rather you they kind of have multi-uses, and they're really defined by the furnishings that are in that space, which is kind of cool because you can rearrange your furniture, you can rearrange your space different times over the course of your experience living in a home, and there's a lot of options there. So big open concept where you have a kitchen that opens into the dining room, that opens into like a living area. It really helps with socializing. It helps, create the illusion of a bigger place, the fewer walls that you have. It's something that people respond very well to. So if you have a lot of walls in your house, especially between like the living room, the family room, if the kitchen's off, taking down some walls is something very wise to do because people are really responding to open concept in this housing market. Another important thing is bedrooms away from the living space. So, you have to consider that most houses in any housing market are built for families. So, mom and dad want their own room, or, mom and mom or dad and dad, they want their own separate room away from, the kids, hopefully with an ensuite bathroom, and away from the living space. That's just kind of like people want a certain separation of like family life and personal life. So having a hallway with the bedrooms down the hall is really good than having a bedroom really buttressing up against a living space. It helps with noise, it helps with traffic, and through the house, the traffic flow through the house. So that is another important element to consider. So to recap, we have, of course, location, lights, and layout, the 3 L's of home buying. Of course, if you find a home that has all these 3 characteristics, perfectly presented, you're going to fall in love with it. And if you fall in love with it, chances are a lot of other people are going to fall in love with it as well, which means, potentially a bidding war. It means you want to write a very strong offer to make sure you can get the property. That's what I'm here for. I'm a real estate agent in Greater Los Angeles area. You can call me. My website is HousehunterLA, or you can find my email and phone number. Even if you're outside of Los Angeles and need help finding an agent, I can help you with that. And then we can look for the house that have the 3 L's and then write a very strong winning offer to make sure that it is your home. And then when you get ready down the road, we can sell it and find you a new home and keep trading up until you get into your dream home, which is what you need to do in Los Angeles. It can be a process here. So thank you for joining me in this episode. Hopefully it helped you. And, feel free to leave me likes and comments and subscribe. And I look forward to interacting with you online and offline. So thanks so much. Bye.